Welcome to week 8, CIS125E. Moving forward in the book, we're on to module 9, which is now looking at some of the financial tools built into Excel. So you're going to look at financial functions to analyze loans and investments. So obviously we're going to take a look at the payment function. This chapter does an example of there's a function that calculates the NPER, the number of periods. You can back calculate what the rate is given some other information, future value, present value. So we're looking at those kinds of functions. We use some special functions to create an amortization schedule. And so there's the IPMT, PPMT, or P-prints, and will tell us how much of every payment goes towards principal, things like that. So you're going to want to pay attention to those. And then they also do an interpolate and extrapolate a series of values. So interpolate means I have a beginning value and an ending value, and I select those and want to put different values in the middle. And then extrapolate says, hey, I have an ending value, and then I want to continue that series of values further. And so Excel has some built-in functions for doing that. You want to know about depreciation. So there's straight line and DDB, double declining balance depreciations. All of these are fairly easy to use. Net present value, internal rate of return, and then you can trace a formula error. So anyway, a lot of good information in that chapter, especially if you're in the business department, which a lot of you might be. I have quite a few videos around that information. If you follow along with a book, they have a pretty good exercise where you just use each one of these in all in one kind of case scenario. And then obviously, like every other week, you just jump into your assignments, you get your SAM, exam, and projects, and then you have this workbook. Now, this workbook is kind of confusing for people, so I created a video giving you the big picture of what's going on with this. Basically, I think there's a mine, and these people are looking at, for the next 25 years, these are our expenses, these are our revenue. Is it worth doing this project? And so they have you do some interpolation, extrapolation, and you're going to be calculating NPV and IRR and things like that. So that video will go into some depth around that. Make sure you watch that before you do this exercise, because students kind of don't know why or what they're doing if they just read the instructions from the book. So what else? Don't forget that this week is your midterm. So hopefully you've emailed me which of the 2 times you're going to show up. And if you haven't done that, make sure you get that done. And then in week 7, if you hadn't noticed, towards the bottom, there's a midterm practice exercise. So you want to definitely do that. Kind of like the midterm 1 practice, I have a solution video link embedded right into the document. And so if you're having troubles, you want to make sure that you do watch the solution video. And then if you can do this exercise fairly well, and then of course you don't want to be taking a day to get it done, you should be able to do it fairly quickly, because the test is a couple hours long, then you should do fine on the second midterm. Having said that, this midterm tends to be a little harder because, so for instance, here we're doing a subtotal on two columns. And it's just something people are less familiar with. Pivot tables tend to go fairly well, but again, it's a topic that people are less familiar with. What are some of the database functions? Remember dsum, dmax, dmin, filtering data to get to a unique list using the advanced filter function. So that was in Appendix B. You want to make sure you know how to use that, and then these database functions. So anyway, how to protect a sheet, how to make sure somebody doesn't put in a date before today's date. So go through that exercise. And I just thought of this, but to encourage you to actually work on this midterm practice, if you email me your midterm practice workbook all completed, correctly completed, I will add how many extra credit points? Let me think. Oh, what the heck. I'll give you 10 extra credit points to email me this workbook all completed correctly before the midterm, which obviously is Thursday of this week. So there you go. If you have any questions on any of this, please let me know. And we'll see you all on, or at least most of you, on Thursday this week.